Hello, hello. My timer's going off. It is time for the Lunchtime Live Stream. And today we're going to be making the Peppermint In the Folds. It's from Peppermint Magazine. The pattern is from In the Folds, and it's the Playsuit. So kind of a fun summery project. I've got, mine actually is cut out. I cut it out because it was a pretty straightforward pattern to cut, and I figured I would get started on that, but I wanted to show you that I'm doing it out of this lovely blue chambray. So yeah, that's what we're making today. And I also just wanted to mention that I'm teaching a bathing suit class that starts next Tuesday. It is June 22nd, 2021. So if you're watching this live or you're watching it shortly after it was live, you can maybe catch my bathing suit class. I'm teaching the Cottesloe, Megan Nielsen Cottesloe bathing suit, which is a super popular pattern because it's a great way to start sewing bathing suits. So wanted to invite you all to take that. It's a 2-week class. Like I said, first class is Tuesday, June 22nd. So hopefully you can join me for that. All the information will be down in the info below. But let's get started here. So I'm super zoomed in. So let's start by zooming out so you can see what I've got going on. And so there are 2 major pieces with this pattern, the front and the back. So I've got the back, I cut 2 of them, a left and a right. I've got the front, which is piece 1, cut 2 of them, a left and a right, and that's what they mean by cut 1 pair. We've got our pockets, obviously we need those. We've got our ties, and then this playsuit has a facing, and the facings are different on the front and back. So I've got 1 playsuit facing for the front and 1 playsuit facing for the back. Okay, so let's get started. You will probably want to read through, you definitely want to read through all of this before we get started. But I have done that, of course. And I'm going to jump into the sewing. So it does want us to stay stitch the edges, but we've got to do that really close to the edge along the top of the front and along both of the backs. So that is going to be our first step. So I'm going to get all this other stuff out of the way. I'm going to grab a pin cushion so I can unpin my pattern from my fabric, and here they are. So cut 1 pair just means we cut a left and a right, and you can kind of see that we're already starting to look like a little overall jumpsuit. Okay, so I'm going to be stay stitching this edge and this edge, as well as this edge and this edge. Looks like we have a little blip that I forgot to cut right there. Okay. So, get the old sewing machine camera up so you guys can see what I'm doing. I've still got olive green thread on from my class last night. I made some olive green shorts. So you know what? I'm going to be sewing with olive green because I don't feel like changing it. And I think it's fine. Not super picky, especially since it's chambray. And okay, you guys need to see my camera or my sewing machine. So I'm just stay stitching. So In case you don't know what stay stitching is, it's just that. Sewing along the edge. And we're doing it because we don't want these edges to stretch out on us. So there's no back stitching. So those are my two fronts. Cut those apart. And then I'm going to do the same thing on the back. So again, I've got to unpin from the back. This pattern uses about a 2.5 yards of 45-inch wide, slightly less than that if you're using 60-inch wide. But because of these bigger pattern pieces, it really doesn't make a ton of difference if you use 45-inch wide or 60-inch wide. You can't save a ton of fabric by using 60-inch wide, FYI. So along this piece, we're just gonna do this edge, stay stitching, okay? So back to the sewing machine. Let me back up my sewing machine a little bit, just so you can have a little bit of reference. Get my timer out of here. We don't need that. Okay. So it's just this top edge. Top edge and top edge of the other one. Okay. So now that we've got our stay stitching done, we're jumping into the pockets. So they want you to finish the top edge of the pocket with your chosen method. And just what that means is if you have a serger, you can serge it, or you could just, I'm getting it. You could just zigzag the top, because it's gonna teach you how to make this pocket with only one fold over along the top. Which is kind of an interesting way to do it. Yeah, it's kind of a cool way they show you how to do it. So here are my pockets. I'm gonna run it through the serger because I think I can just show you how to do that by pointing my sewing machine camera over there. Let's see if I can make it work. Maybe. Yeah. So I've got my serger. I've got lots of cords. So bear with me. Lots of technological things happening. So you can zigzag this if you don't have a serger. I'm gonna just run it through the serger and then you can see what that looks like. Okay. So now I've got the top edges finished, and it's telling us to, with the right sides facing up, turn back the top. So we'll pretend this is the right side. Chambray doesn't have a right or wrong side, but we're going to say this is the right side. I'm turning back the top edge of the pocket by 1 inch. I am just estimating. There are probably some notches on the pattern that I could use, but I'm okay with this. I'm just going to fold that over, and I'm going to stitch very close to this bottom edge, okay? I'm going to do that on both, so I might as well get that one ready. Now, with pockets, you want to make them look the same. So I usually just line them up next to each other. Make sure the tops, now that one looks like it might be a little, no, it's good. Same thing, pin that and pin that. And from that sewing machine, so I'm just going to sew right through that serged fabric. And there we go. We've got our pockets. They are instructing us to trim back each corner before finishing the other 3 edges with your chosen method. I'm okay with not doing that, to be honest. So I'm just going to run this edge, and this edge through the serger. So 1, 2, 3, and then it's going to get folded over. I totally just did this wrong, you guys, and I think it's the reason I'm doing that is because chambray doesn't have a right or wrong side. This is probably not the greatest fabric to demonstrate this with. So, okay, I'm not doing it the same way they're instructing me here. So I was supposed to just sew this, flip it around, scrapping that idea. I'm going to fold in my edges and top stitch my pockets on. Just a slightly different method. So you know what? I'm going to grab my iron. I think if I had fabric that had a right or wrong side, I would have paid attention and done it the correct way. But chambray mixes me up. So this is just a different way to do the pocket. You flipped it, you sewed it. Now I'm going to iron in all the edges about 1/2 inch. And then we're going to top stitch that in the correct spots on the playsuit. Just need to plug my iron in. Okay. There we go. Okay. While I'm waiting for that to heat up, I'm going to find my front of my playsuit and the pattern because I want to see where the pocket should be. These dots, this dot and this dot and this dot and this dot are indicating where on the pattern the pocket should go. So I'm going to keep that handy, and then of course I need one to go the opposite way. So, here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna mark it where these dots are. So wherever I kind of lift the veil of fabric, and you can mark 1, 2. So this is my right side, and then lift up till you get to here. Mark. And mark. So where my dots are, spacing. Here, 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 and here. But now that my iron's hot, I'll show you. You just want to fold in. So this is the wrong side. And I'm just folding in the edges about 1/2 inch. And then that's what your pocket's going to look like on the right side. And the reason they had cut here is just because that tends to stick out a little bit. So you can clip that. And then you can't see it when we go to lay it onto the playsuit. So I'm going to find it. Find my markings. That looks about right. You can still see my marks, but that's okay. Pin on the pocket. And we're going to top stitch it onto our front piece. I'm going to do the same thing with the other one. So while my ironing board is here, okay. Find my other front piece. That's a back. That is a back. The back is definitely shorter, that's what I can tell. Okay, so there we go. So I can mark my pattern piece on this side. I'm going to mark it. So here's another way to mark it. The right side is up. Line it up. And you can poke a hole through the pattern. That works too. So I'm just going to use my pen. Poke that through. And I'm just going to do the bottom too because I can line that up. Make sure I can see them over here just barely. No, I can't really see the other one. If you have trouble, just do that. There. find my pocket. Center it on there. And pin. Be sure not to pin it to my other one. There we go. Okay, so now my pockets are on. It is time to sew them on. Just make sure everything is laying really flat so nothing gets tucked up underneath there. Same thing on the other one. Okay. So now we've got some pockets on our playsuit. Oop. There we go. And I know that I have a left and a right, and all is right in the world. Okay, so now we are moving on to step 7. Take the front and back pieces and finish the side seam allowances with your chosen method. Take the left hand. Okay. Because I'm doing it on both, not just on the sides that are going to get the zipper. Oh, I just realized I don't even have a zipper with me. Good preparation, Megan. Okay. Why is there a zipper? Why don't you just slide into it? This is when things get a little bit... Maybe it's too tight. You know what? I'm skipping the zipper. I'm skipping the zipper. I'm going renegade. We are just slipping this thing on. It's like, it's not a fitted garment. I'm just going to slip that onto me. All right, skipping the zipper. So what you want to do is... God, I'm wondering if I'm going to follow any of these instructions. I don't think I am. I think I'm just going to go rogue here. I'm going to stitch the front to the back. on each. Yeah. Okay. Keep in mind, people, I do not, this is all done on the fly. I don't even look at the instructions before I go. Maybe that's good, maybe that's bad, but here goes nothing. No, it's going to be fine. It's just like putting a pair of shorts together, only they're like super high shorts. So I'm going to just stitch the inner leg. How's it going to work? I'm doubting myself. Yep, inner legs going together. Here. On the one side, front and back, right side's facing, inner leg is pinned. And then, same thing over here. Right side's facing, inner leg gets sewn together. Okay. We are going to sew these. So let me see here. First one. And inner leg seams. And then this is where your front and back get sewn together. So these are the inner leg seams. We're matching them up. And over here we've got pockets. So that's our front. That's going to get sewn together. And then all the way up to the back. So this is a giant U that needs pins. You want to make sure that your raw edges all the way up to the top are nice and lined up. And then this is what we're going to sew. And because this is partly the crotch seam, the one where like you bend over, it's going to be the first thing to rip. We're going to actually sew this twice because we want this seam to be nice and sturdy. We don't want to be out and about in our play suit playing and have a big blowout. So yeah, let's sew this one twice. I suppose if you're serging it to finish it after you sew it once, that will suffice as well. I'm gonna just sew it twice on the sewing machine. Okay, here we go. So I'm thinking about this zipper as I'm doing this and thinking, I wonder if this is going to come back to haunt me, but I can't imagine that this is so fitted that you would need a zipper. It just seems like overkill. So there it goes. One time sewn through. Now when you're sewing it the second time, you're literally just sewing right on the stitch that you previously did. Pins like crazy. Okay. So now we've got that long middle stitch all together. And I'm going to take out these pins that I sewed over, and I just knocked a bunch of pins on the floor because I didn't put them in my pin cushion like I should have. Here we go. And we are going to open it up. Oh yes, this is adorable. And there's definitely no need for a zipper in this thing because it's just loose and flowy. So there we've got our two legs. Okay, there. Ironing board can go away. Huh? Yeah. Just do it. You hear the loud noise, that's a seltzer maker. There are the legs of my playsuit. Can you see the whole thing? So it goes up. So cute. Alright, so yeah, so then that goes all the way up and matches. Okay, so right now I have right side out. We got to turn this whole thing inside out so we can sew the sides. There we go. So there's one side. And I will stick some pins in. Stick some pins in the other side. This is way easier than I thought it was going to be. I kind of love it. And then, I mean, the only thing, yeah, we're just gonna have to finish up the top edges and add the ties. And I think I might just, yeah, go completely rogue and use some I'm going to use some bias tape along the edge and just tuck the straps up underneath it. Oh my gosh, this is way... Oh no, I have the facing. Just kidding. So I'm going to use the facing. You could skip the facing and do a bias tape. Oh my gosh, maybe I'll just do that. I don't know. All right, let me sew these. Let me sew these here. Keep my eyes peeled. I'm about to run out of bottom. Oh, just ran out. Okay. And I'm just going to put this little khaki bobbin in. I'll put the facing in. Oh my gosh. Decide what I'm going to do here. I'm going to put the facing in because I think it will make the top look a little bit, it'll definitely reinforce it and look a little bit more, less like pajamas. But if you're making pajamas, you could always just use bias tape. Okay, so I'm going to show you what that looks like. So we've got the Playsuit front and back. If I turn it right side out, you'll be able to see. Yeah, it's gigantic. No need for a zipper. Obviously we'll need to hem the shorts, and then we're going to put some ties on the front and some ties on the back, and then we'll put the facing on. So I'm going to put that aside and grab my straps. And the way that the instructions showed to do these straps is all using top stitching. So that means you don't have to turn anything, which can be nice. It may, however, make for some fairly thick straps. So you could press and press and then fold in half. I'm going to use my crazy fingers and I'm just going to start in the middle. So yeah, if you wanted to do this and can't get everything to kind of fold in, you could just use your iron and fold in the sides and then fold the whole thing in half. But I'm just going to do it this way. Fold in, fold in, fold in half. And you're going for a tie or strap that is the same width the entire way. So if you want to pull out your ruler, just make sure that the width of these are all going to be the same. So there's 1, If you start in the middle, it tends to kind of work out a little easier if you're not ironing. Because you kind of set the precedent in the middle and keep it going. There. So there's the, oh, the back ones are longer. Yeah, the back ones are longer. So those are the fronts. And these are the backs. And then I'm just going to top stitch those. So same thing. And obviously this is the wrong side face up. So the wrong side gets into the middle so you don't see it. And then what we're going to do is just top stitch along the edge that's open. Okay. This is a great way if, I don't know if you're, if anybody watching is a sewing teacher, when you have to make ties or straps, this is a great way to teach kids because kids just can't get the whole safety pin turning thing. So a lot of times if we're making wider straps for like a bag or something, this is the way I teach them, rather than doing it on the wrong side and then having to flip it. So that's just a great pointer if you're teaching kids. They seem to get this method a little easier. I mean, it, involves a lot more pinning and don't involve the iron, obviously, but you can just one at a time pin this side, then fold in half, remove those middle pins, and pin all the layers together. So one thing I learned teaching a lot of bag straps. Okay. Let's see here. I'm going to unplug my iron so I can plug my laptop back in so we don't lose power. Okay. Let's sew these babies. You could sew them with a zigzag if you wanted. You could just sew them with a straight stitch, however you want to do it. But I'm right on this right edge. I suppose if you wanted to sew on the left edge to have two seams on here, that's fine. As you can see, kind of flattens it out and makes a nice little tie. Stop and take my pins out and not try to take them out as I'm sewing. There's one. 3 and the last one. All right, 4 ties. They're all sewn together. So here's 1, here's 2, and these are the 2 short ones. So the short ones are the ones that go in the front, and then the long ones go in the back. So I'm gonna take my outfit and to see where exactly they're putting them, you can look on step 18. It wants you to do it about ½ inch in because you don't want to see. So these are the short ones. So when you're pinning them, don't pin them right to the edge. Pin them so you've got a little bit of room here when you sew the facing on. So there's 1. And obviously this end is not finished. This is my quick little make the end of the tie finished. Tie it in a knot, snip off the end. There's 1. And I've got my seams on the strap pointing out, about ½ inch in, pin, and tie a knot at the end. Now, when you put the facing on, oh, I got that one to go right at the end. I don't have to cut anything off. When you put the facing on, you want to be really careful. I'm going to move these back straps out of the way. You want to be really careful not to sew the back of the jumpsuit into here. So let me grab the here's the front facing, and so obviously it's mimicking the shape of the front. So if I pull the pattern off, this is where we're going to run into trouble. This is where I didn't want to sew up the side because that needs to catch in there. Okay, I can make that work. Well, I will start by placing the facing right side down, so right sides are together of the shorts and the facing. Pin this. Pin this. I'm good until I get to about here. So you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to seam rip down to here. As soon as I find a seam ripper. Oh my gosh. A drawer with 100. Oh my gosh. Okay. Seam rip. This is, of course, where it's back stitched. Doesn't come apart as easy, but that's why we back stitch. Oh, God. I'm seam ripping. There we go. Okay. As you can see, I've pinned. And then I want that to go down at least as far as this facing piece. There we go. Pin. And pin. And then once that's sewn on, we'll just sew it back to the back. Actually, after we sew the back facing in. So there we go, that's that side. And then seam ripping over here, same deal. I'm just putting a little pressure on the seam to dig my blade in there and start it. It's a fast way to get your seam ripping going. And in a way, I'm grateful that my thread color is not exactly the same color. Because I can see it a little better. Okay. And pin the rest of that down to the bottom of the facing. I'm going to fold up the bottom of my facing because that's going to make it look more finished inside. So when I sew it, that's folded. Same over here. Do that. And then once that's sewn in, I can finish this whole edge on the inside of the garment. Okay, let's sew this front facing. Can't believe we're still on the first hour. This is actually going together pretty quickly. Back up to give you some perspective. Start on that first fold. And I'm going to do a slightly smaller seam allowance, so about 1/4 inch. And yes, I'm sewing my pins because I just want to do it quick. Ooh, that did not like that. Back stitch over the strap so your strap doesn't pull out. My front facing is in. Go back to the overhead camera, remove the last of my pins, and then flip the facing to the inside of the playsuit, and that will reveal the straps. And that also finishes the side of the playsuit here, right? So now this is all nicely finished. Your straps are sticking out. And we're going to do the same thing on the back. Okay, so flip it. Get the back straps, make the seam face out to the side. Make sure you're at least 1/2 inch in so they don't get caught in the seam allowance when you sew the facing on. 1 and 2. And grab your facing. I'm unpinning my pattern. Remember, you want the right side face down onto the back of the playsuit. I'm going to steal that pin out and put it back in here. And then I'm going to go all the way down the side that we unpicked. All the way across to here, and then same over here. Steal that pin out, replace it, and get this raw edge together. Oh my gosh, I'm gonna finish this and then I'm gonna try it on over my clothes for all of you, because I'm kind of excited. That's what sewing's about, right? It's like envisioning something, creating it, and then the excitement of trying it on. Okay, sewing time. Let's see. It's just like the front. And we start, same thing. I'm going to fold up that little bit at the beginning so I can finish the edge inside. Sew up to the corner, turn the corner, sew over the strap. Don't sew over your pin like I just did. Turn the corner. I actually went a little too far, so I'm going to back up. There we go. Oops. Oh, I can still fold it up. Okay. Oh my gosh. So exciting. Flip that right side out. And then, yes, because I've started that, I can now fold this raw edge up and create a seam. I'll do that later. For now, I just want to show you. That's the back. There we go. That is the front. So everything needs to be ironed a lot. But we've got a finished little jumpsuit. Got all kinds of things on the floor behind me. Let's see. Okay. So I already have shorts on. These are the shorts. The Emerson shorts that we made last night. And my shoes on. Try my playsuit on. This is really flattering, isn't it? Me wriggling into this. I feel like such a little kid in this thing. The straps are ridiculously long. So you can always go shorten those if you need to. Oh my gosh. Okay, I'm clearly not going to be wearing this without a shirt, I don't think, underneath. I mean, maybe as a bathing suit cover up. But it looks ridiculous because I have shorts on. But there we go. There it is. I gotta look in the mirror. Got my pockets. Oh, I didn't sew up the sides. I'm like, oh my gosh, it's like all gaping right here. I totally forgot to finish sewing up the sides. Then you will not be hanging out the side. Anyway, we are right at 1 hour. I am going to say goodbye and say thank you for joining me on this live stream, or if you're watching it after, hope it was helpful. Can't wait to see your In the Folds Playsuits. Goodbye.